How y'all doing? Once again, this is gssixgun from SRP and all the other shaved it forums. We're going to work on something kind of fun today, something a little bit different. I'm going to start with a Joseph Rogers Slight Smile Wedge. This one's just really close to a full wedge, near wedge. I'm going to show you something different from what seems to be is the rolling X and rocking X, and those work just fine. This is a little bit different stroke, and it's more of a corrective stroke, and it gets a really smooth bevel. First, over here, I always keep my 1K bevel setters in the well over there. And by the way, if you're going to set up a well, something I've learned is if you start with distilled water and you put like maybe a cap full of Clorox with each gallon, that water will stay clean for months. Not just weeks, but months. That water right there is still clean, and it's probably 3 months old right now. I keep my Norton 1K and my King 1K over there soaking all the time. The rest of the stones I just toss in when I start my process. My plan for this Rogers is to go from a Norton 1K to a Norton 4.8 and then finish with a caudicle. I normally finish my Sheffield steel on a caudicle. I think you get a really good edge that way, a nice comfortable edge that way. I always start honing with a clean stone, do about 5 figure 8s on it, and when I'm cutting bevels I leave that slurry on there, I don't take it off. The very first part of this, I kind of think of it as exploratory, because I haven't messed with this blade yet. I can kind of see what it's got going on, but I want to make sure on it. This is one that I have not restored. This is just cleaned and ready to hone. It's heirloom somebody's grandfather's razor. Really nice diamond edge Joseph Rogers. When I first start, so I can really get an idea of what I have going, I actually use 2 pieces of tape on the wedges. Another way of doing this is to use a black marker and find out what you have. But on these wedges, a lot of times they've been so hone worn that the bevels get a little bit out of hand. So you want to kind of figure out what you have going before you start cutting a new bevel. What I'm going to show is the 45-degree heel forward strokes. And I say strokes because there's a couple of them that you can use. In fact, there's about 4 of them that you can use on a wedge. And 45-degree is quite a bit of an angle. I want that heel forward. And I do kind of 2 strokes the majority of the time. One is the one I call a long stroke, where the heel stays straight down an imaginary line going both directions. It's kind of like a straight down the hone stroke for a straight edge razor, but this one is for a smiling razor. And I'm going to come straight down the hone at that angle. And it also allows me to feel what the old bevel is like. A lot of these old wedges have quite a bumpy bevel set in them from so many different people honing them. And I'll do probably 5 or 6 of these strokes, and I'm using I don't want to say heavy pressure, but I'm using a fair amount of pressure on this. This is a bevel setting exercise. Okay. At that point, and there I go. I'm going to try not to say that all the way through this, okay? I'm going to look at the bevel. It's a nice, small, even bevel, so that second piece of tape can come off right now at this point in time. I said it again. Oh well, you guys are just going to have to deal with that's going to be my catchphrase, okay? At this point in time. So I'm taking the second layer of tape off. I don't need it on this one. I have a nice even bevel. It's a small bevel. If it was oversized, if this was a restored razor, I'd take the tape off totally and even that spine up too, and then rebuff it and start again. Really good idea to check your razors before you restore them. I always say that. Check and make sure you have a bevel before you restore a razor. I do that most of the time. Sometimes I forget. Get excited on a restore and you just go for it. Okay, so now let's set a bevel since we know that's good. We're going to do Lynn's 20 Circles Sharp bevel sets. They work great on everything. The thing you got to understand is it's about 20 circles down the hone, then 20 circles back up the hone, clockwise and counterclockwise. And I say about. The first 20 you use a fair amount of pressure. If you feel rough spots, just keep going right on that spot. If it feels pretty smooth as you do this, then you're pretty good. On this razor right now, as soon as I started this way, over here on the heel portion is a little bit of a rough spot. A lot of these old Sheffield blades have a little bit of a warp in the heel. If you actually sight down the blade, you can usually find it, that'll be a little bit warped. This one is slightly offset to this side. And a lot of them are that way. It's just something that you just deal with on old Sheffield blades. One of the reasons why they're so hard to hone. So I'm going to push that heel just a touch. When I say I'm pushing it, I kind of torque towards it. Kind of push towards that heel as I'm coming down towards it, and then I slide off of it, move the razor back and forth, making sure that the spine is always on the hone. Never take the spine off the hone. And I know that's kind of hard because on the rolling axe, and this everybody says it, but when you see the wiki depictions of it and people saying you have to rock the thing or roll the axe stroke, they don't mean take the spine off the edge. It does not mean go like this with that spine off the edge and then roll it back down. It does not mean that. It means you roll the pressure. Alright? Now on the 45-degree one, you don't do that. Everything stays nice and even. Right now, this has got a nice, even, no bad spots. One corner, that one sounds pretty good. This side, one corner is a little bit off. So I'm going to push back onto that heel a little bit and rub that heel in. I'm really concentrating the pressure on that heel right now. The entire spine is still on the hone, but I'm torquing with this finger right here. I'm torquing towards that heel. If I really thought it was bad, which it's not, I would put my finger right there on that heel and push it. Okay, and that's the way you push edges, is you put your finger on it. I know some people hone like that. I use that finger to push an edge in. If I really wanted to, I'd just put my finger right there and do a few circles right on that heel, and it should pop even, which it almost did. Just a tiny bit more. Let's put my finger there and just push it. Now I push it and then I kind of relax on it. I push it and I kind of relax on it. Now I'm going to bring it even. I can kind of feel it. You can feel when something evens up. Okay. Now we'll go back to the 45-degree long stroke again. Just kind of comes right off the hone. I'm going to do about 5 of those. Again, I'm going by feel, don't go by numbers. I'm going to say 5 or 20 or 25. That's just an approximation. It's not an exact science. As I'm coming this way, I'm feeling a little bit of a drag on the heel right there, so I'm pushing that direction on it. I'm giving it a little bit of torque. Anytime I feel something rough, I give it a little bit of torque and even it up until it's nice and even. Okay. We have a nice, even, sharp bevel now. And do a few X strokes. Now with the Smiling blade, I'm going to change the X stroke up. A normal X stroke just comes straight across. With the Smiling blade, I'm going to kind of do a little bit of a swoop at the end of it. You can find that in the SRP wiki also, a swooping stroke. That's to get the very end of that barber's notch right here sharp also. So the entire blade is useful. With barber's notches, you can use that if you have a beard like I do, or a goatee or something. Those barber's notches come really handy for trimming. I'm going to try and get this whole thing on video. Again, I go in about sets of 5, and I'm using a lot more heel angle than I normally would. Normally I'd be about 20-30 degrees. I'm really using that 45-degree, and it's sliding around as it comes down the hone. I'm going 45 degrees all the way across the hone. As it comes to slide off, then I just slide around on it. 45 degrees all the way down, and then it just kind of slides around. And it's kind of just a little bit of a hook at the end. And I'm using no pressure with this hand, by the way. I use 2 hands when I am bevel setting and medium honing. And as I start getting towards the finishing strokes, you'll see me use 1 hand, 2 hands. Also, if you notice, I flip the razor the wrong way. When I'm using two hands, I always flip the wrong way. Instead of doing that, I come off and I turn right back around and go the other direction. You shouldn't do that. You should learn it the right way. I've been doing it too long to teach an old dog new tricks, basically. Just make sure you don't slam the edge into the hone and you should be okay. Okay. Now, the difference with this compared to a rolling X is the edge is going to be totally smooth. You're not going to get any bumps coming down that hone. The bumps come from lifting the spine. And like I said, I know it shows it, but that's not what you're supposed to be doing. That's not what it means. It's an over-exaggeration when it's shown. When people say you do a rolling X, what they mean is you roll the pressure. Pressure starts at the heel, you roll the pressure off to the toe. Starts at the heel, you roll the pressure off to the toe. That spine stays on the hone the entire time. With the 45 degree, you don't have to even think about that. The pressure comes down just because of the angle of the razor. Now you notice I'm doing a few of the straight strokes because I'm feeling for mistakes before I come off this 1K hone. Okay, now I'm going to check it underneath the light really good before I move on. I'm sorry, I cannot figure out how to show you guys that. But I should have, if I have any hair left to check. Unfortunately, with the wedge, you guys can't hear it. But I'm checking to make sure there's popping hair all the way up and down the blade from heel to toe. And I'll check about 3 or 4 places. You don't have to shave with it, you just got to pop a hair or two. And if you're toning a lot of razors, you'll run out of hair really fast. Okay, that bevel is set now. So we come off the 1K. Goes back in my well. I'm going to check the time on the camera. Okay, we're going to stop at this point in time and I'm going to switch out and go and change, download this part of it. All this will be edited, I hope. I'm going to download this part of it and then I'll start the second part with the 4K and the cauticles. Thanks for watching so far. That's the end of part 1, the bevel set on a Smiling Wedge.